think we're live now. Let's do the Gemara class. Leilu Nishmat, Michelle Bat Sally. And then get my coffee and let's begin. Okay, so you have two packets in front of you. We'll start with the pesachim first. There you go. Okay. Thank you. Gemara Pesachim, the last thing, if you remember last week, what we talked about, the last thing we spoke about last week was if you only have one vegetable, you want to use it for both kalpas and maror. Remember? That's the last thing we finished. So the Gemara will go on. I highlighted for you exactly where we are. Kuf Ted Vav Amud Aleph. It should be highlighted for you. And it begins with the words Amar Abina. Kuf Ted Vav 115a Amar Abina. Amen. Okay. Amar Abina. Now, before we do this, everybody knows our Korech Minhag? Why do we do Korech? Baal Peh. Why do we do Korech? Who? No, not Yahats. Korech. Korech. Why do we do it? Who told us to do this? Who told us to do this? Hillel Zaken. Yeah? Matzah Omarod Belo Belaka Zecher Lemetash Biyamil Yehudash. Remember this from the Haggadah? Hillel Zaken Shekorchan. So Hillel Zaken taught us to do this. Ready for this Gemara? Adam? The first question is going to you. No, hold on. Ready? Amar Rabina. Amar li Rab Mishal Shia Bered Rab Natan. Rabina says, Rab Mishal Shia, the son of Rab Natan, told me this. Doctor, you have the place? Yep. Hachi Amar Hillel. This is what Hillel says. Mishemed the Gemara. And the name of the Gemara, Lo Nichruch Inish Matzah Umarot Bahadeh Hadadiv V'Nechol. A person should not wrap matzah and maror together and eat it as one. A person should not. What do we do? Hillel says yes or no. What is going on over here? Adam, this is your question. This question goes to you. How does Hillel say? Don't we say Hillel says you're supposed to make a sandwich? Right? So just for everybody to understand, be 100% clear. Kadesh, Urhas, Karpas, Yahas. Yahas, we break the matzah. Maybe next week we'll do that. Magid, Agada, Rochsa, wash again. Moti matzah, we make the beracha on the matzah. 2 blessings. Maror, eat the maror. Korech, and then we wrap the korech. Korech, we make a sandwich. We spread the haroset on top of the matzah. We put the maror on top, and we make a sandwich. Hillel Zaken told us to do this. And now we see Hillel says not to do it. Okay, so the answer is, really you should have picked up on 2 words. If you read it again, Hachi Amad Hillel Mishemed the Gemara. So said Hillel in the name of the Gemara. How could Hillel quote the Gemara? Hillel was way before the Gemara. Yeah. So the answer is there's 2 names. There's 2 Hillels. Yeah. There's 2 Hillels. So there's a Hillel Zaken and there's Hillel in the Gemara times. So the ironic thing is Hillel argues on Hillel. The second Hillel argues on the first Hillel. So the Gemara Hillel says you should not do korech. Don't do it. Why? Bishum de Sevira Lan, because we hold matzah bazman hazeh deoraita. These days we eat matzah. Is it rabbinic or it's a biblical mitzvah? Deoraita. It's deoraita. It's a mitzvah from the Torah to eat matzah. What about maror? I'm looking at you. Maror is from the rabbis these days. Maror, right? These days, maror we eat is not from the Torah. Why? Because maror has to be eaten with the korban pesach. Amirorim yochiluhu. If you lose the korban pesach, you lose the maror. We eat maror rabbinically. So matzah is, if someone says, I am only eating matzah or maror this in the Seder, eat the matzah. It's the raita. Good so far?
Why we not stream to eat maror since it's related to korban?
It's not only ostrim, it's the opposite. We want to remember the Pesach as much as we can. It's the opposite.
But it's not attached to
It's a separate mitzvah from the Korban Pesach, but it was biblically, if you have the steak, you get the salad.
Okay.
We lost the steak. So we're going to eat the salad and remember that we used to have a steak. That's basically what yeah. So Marod, so Hillel, now the logic, I have in the software that I hate this. And this is what it says. Why should you not eat korech, says Hillel? Because matzah is manadeh deoraita. Matzah is from the Torah. Umaror de Rabbanan. Maror is rabbinic. The atim maror de Rabbanan, if you eat them together, the rabbinic taste of maror, which is rabbinic, umevatil le matzah deoraita, and it's going to counter the biblical taste in your mouth. How could you put biblical food in your mouth, matzah, and rabbinic food in your mouth, maror? You can't mix. It's going to ruin. The maror is going to overtake the taste of the matzah, and you're going to be losing a biblical food because you're taking rabbinic food.
Why? Because he was eating horseradish.
Yeah, probably why. You eat horseradish, you lose all your taste buds.
But I'm supposed to eat the mitzvah
Together.
No, when you make motzi, you're supposed to eat like this huge, what is it, 1.5 or half?
Yeah.
One shot.
Yeah.
So then you have fulfilled your.
You fulfilled. You're already.
Right.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Very good. We're going to end up there. We're not there now. In other words, Hillel HaZaken said korech is it. In Hillel HaZaken's Seder, it wasn't maror, korech, motzi. No. It was kadesh, has, karpas. The word karpas is yahas, magid, nohsa, korech. Everything I want. That was his motzi matzah. That was his maror. We end up, like Dr. was saying, these days we separate it all. And now this is what the word shiur is about, how we ended up this way. And so the logic is, because you cannot put a Torah food in your mouth and a biblical and a rabbinic food in your mouth. Because if the two foods in your mouth were both biblical, it's weird logic. I'm having a hard time with it myself. If maror was biblical in the old days, you can put them all in your mouth at the same time. Because they're equal tastes. They could both have rent in your mouth at the same time. Biblical and biblical. But you're gonna put, I'm eating biblical food now. You're gonna put rabbinic food? What are you, crazy? That's the logic of the Gemara. So let's see the words of the Gemara. Yeah.
When did he say the maror became?
Hillel HaZaken was way. Oh, now maror is when the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Maror de Rabbanan. When Hillel HaZaken was around, he was in the Beit HaMikdash.
Why? Obviously, the matzah is still there.
Matzah is still deoraita.
Why is maror not?
Because it says al mirorim yochiluhu. The Korban Pesach has to be in on the maror. It doesn't. But matzah, it says shvat yamim tochal matzot.
You're saying the can't eat what actually had Korban Pesach.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so now we have an insight. So now let's read the words of the Gemara. So I'm gonna rewind a little bit so we got the words of the language of the Gemara. Okay. Hachi amar Hillel mishmid the Gemara. Lo nichroch inish matzah amaro b'hadeh hadadeh. Don't wrap it all together. V'nechol and eat it. Why? Mishum desiviralan, because behold, matzah is manazeh deoraita. Matzah is from the Torah. Umaro de Rabbanan, and maror is from the rabbis. Ati maror de Rabbanan. The rabbinic maror is going to come. Umevatil the matzah deoraita, and it's going to be nullifying the taste of the rabbinic, of the biblical matzah. Gemara says, "Ve'afilu leman de'amar." Even according to the one who holds mitzvot and mevatelot zu et zu, how could one mitzvah nullify another mitzvah? Come on, they're both mitzvot. They should each be allowed a place in your mouth. Even they will agree. Why? Hani mili, they only hold this deoraita b'deoraita. If you have two deoraitas, or d'Rabbanan b'Drabanan, or you want to have two rabbinics, but to mix and do different levels about deoraita or Drabanan, no. Ati d'Rabbanan umevatil deoraita. The rabbinic is going to come and knock out the taste of the deoraita, and we don't want you to do that. When you eat the Torah food, we want it to only be the only Torah foods in your mouths, not Torah foods and rabbinic foods. It's an interesting sivara. Man Tana, the Gemara asks, Man Tana, who is the Tana? The Shema'at le, that holds mitzvot and mivatel zu, that if they were both biblical, you could have them both in your mouth at the same time. Who hold the two biblical tastes don't counter each other, it's Hillel. This is Hillel Zaken. Why? Because we know Hillel said korech. Titanya. Amru alav al Hillel. They said about Hillel Zaken. Shekorchan bevatahat. He would wrap them. He would wrap it. I'm not saying what he would wrap because it's a question. What did he wrap? It doesn't say here what exactly he wrapped. For sure, the matzah and the maror he wrapped. Maybe even the korban pesach. We don't know. At one shot, the ochlan, and he ate it all together. By the way, if you wrap it, it must have had soft matzahs in those days. How could you wrap hard matzah? The ochlan, and he would eat them in one shot. Why? Because the pasuk says Shnei Emad al masot umrorim yochiluhu. You have to eat the korban pesach on matzot and merorim together. You have to eat it with matzah and maror together. Says Hillel Zaken. I have a pasuk in the Torah. It has to be in one meal together. Rabbi Yochanan says, Halukin alad haberav al Hillel. The rabbis disagreed with Hillel. The rabbis hold you should not do korech. The Tanya, like we said, Yachol yeh korchan bevatahat beochlan. You may think that you should wrap in a sandwich like Hillel did, kederech shehillel ochlan, just like Hillel did. You would think Hillel had a good idea, good invention. No, you shouldn't do it. Tamud lomar al masot umrorim yochiluhu. The pasuk says, "On masot emurim, they should be eaten." Afilu zeh b'fnei atzmo. Even this could be eaten alone. Matzah should be eaten alone. V'zeh b'fnei atzmo, and maror eaten alone.
Which we do.
Which we do. Which means, do we hold like Hillel?
Yeah.
What the doctor said before.
No.
Do we hold like Hillel? If we held like Hillel Zaken, then back in the back in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, we would put a sandwich. Now, even Hillel would say you shouldn't. We don't know if we're not sure if you're hold like Hillel or not. It's a question. Let's see in a second. The fact that we add korech, maybe we do. Now, there's a question here. Hillel's pasuk was what? What was his pasuk that he brought as a proof? Al masot umrorim yochiluhu. The rabbis who argue on him, what's their proof? Al masot umrorim yochiluhu. The same pasuk.
Oh, see?
That's what it says. You see that problem? How could you bring the same pasuk as a proof against Hillel Zaken? Okay. Huh?
When they say umatzot, either it's Baba Chiluk or not.
You want to hear a good answer? Look at the Rashbam. I highlighted it for you. Rashbam, yochiluhu, they should be eaten. It's on the right side.
Oh, yochiluhu.
Kol ehad b'fnei atzmo, yochiluhu. He should be in and he should be in. Each one of them should be in separately. Medilo ketiv yochilu oto. It didn't say you should eat it all together. It says you should eat them. We know we're talking about the Korban Pesach, because it says earlier in the pasuk, they should eat the meat. So it says earlier in the pasuk they should eat the meat. So we know you're talking about the meat. And so therefore, what else are you talking about when it says yochiluhu? The beginning of the pasuk is ve'achilu tabasar, eat the meat. A normal person says eat the meat with the veggies. Pasuk says eat the meat with the veggies. It should be eaten. It's a little extra. Now, we're in the same boat. You should have a problem with this Rashbam because it's not the pasuk. That's not the pasuk. That's not at all. That pasuk doesn't start with Ba'achil Oto. That's a different part in the Torah. It's a whole different pasuk. And so, therefore, to answer this question, it's possible that the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Gemara is saying the wrong pasuk for the Hachamim. There's 2 times in the Torah it says a similar pasuk. Al masot umrorim yochiluhu is in Devarim. Ve'achilu tabasar b'layla hazeh is in Shemot. Right? It's a whole different pasuk. That pasuk is talking about Hachamim's proof. That's why they're not bringing the same pasuk as a proof. Rashbam even tells you the beginning of the pasuk was ve'achilu oto. So what do I think? You want to grab a Chumash, if you don't mind? Let's get the blue one. It has everything. The Chumash Shemot. Let's open it up. Here, what time it is? My Gemara says Shemot 12:8. If you look at the pasuk in Shemot, for the Hakamim, this is for the rabbis to prove that you should not do korech. They should be separate. What is their? If they're using this pasuk, it makes a lot of sense. Not the pasuk it says in the Gemara. This pasuk. Ve'achilu et habasar b'layla hazeh. They should eat the meat on that night. Seli esh, roasted on fire. Umatzot and matzah. Al merorim yochiluhu. With maror, it should be eaten. Read this. Isn't it beautiful? This pasuk. Doesn't it make so much sense? Let's do it again. Ve'achilu et habasar b'layla hazeh. Eat the korban pesach meat. Seli esh umatzot. Roasted with matzah. There's like a stop. Yeah. With matzah. Matzah is separate. It's its own mitzvah. Merorim yochiluhu. You got to eat it with maror. That shows you maror is necessary for the pesach. It helps with both things I was telling you. Right? So the rabbis say, this pasuk says very clearly, it's not all one big sandwich. It's all separate. So we have mahloket. Okay, good. So again, Hillel HaZaken holds, you have to do korech. The rabbis say the opposite. Don't do korech. It should be separate. Huh? Yeah. Which berachot? So the berachot, the berachot that they did in the time of the Beit HaMikdash of the temple is a completely different berachah than we have now. Whole different berachah. I'm going to read it to you from the Rambam. We're going to wrap it up. I'll read you the Rambam. I'll show you. It's a whole new berachah because it was. Oh, what was it? The Gemara says Hasa. But their berachot, their seder, like we were seeing here, if you're coming every week, you see their seder was a way different seder than ours.
The question is, in general, they would always say one seed before them say.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of a mute point because there's no way you could have matzah.
Unless unless that was the first time you're having matzah. Hillel is saying
you can't make a matzah. You don't make in any event. You wouldn't make a bracha of the matzah with everything together.
Why not? It's like a sandwich.
It's a motzi person, no?
But when you have a sandwich, if you go to Jeff's and you get a sandwich, a turkey sandwich, you make a motzi, no?
Yeah, but how do we know that they wouldn't do it separate?
It's Hillel's hidush. It was all together, and Rambam says, one shot. This was your maror. Again, it wasn't separate parts of the seder. It was one beracha, and the beracha was not al chilat matzah, al chilat maror, al chilat matzah or maror, all one shot. I'm going to read you from the Rambam in a second, but it's a good point.
And but it's what you used to wrap it with the meat also.
That's a big question. Chacham Ovadia in the Sefer Me'or Yisrael, the black one I brought one time, I showed you. He has a whole thing. Hillel doesn't say he did it with the pesach. Matzah maror, yes. And so it's a big question from the Rishonim. Was the meat in the sandwich or not in the sandwich? I'm going to read you Rambam, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's very possible that the korech was not with the meat. I'll give you a little tiny reason. There's a 2-page thing on it. He says there's a question in Shas in general, in the Gemara in general, how many kazayits a person can eat at one time in a mouth? How many kazayits can he fit? And so he said 2 kazayits. You can't have 3 kazayits.
Oh, so you need kazayit.
Yeah. So you can't have a kazayit of meat and a kazayit of matzah and kazayit of maror. A person's mouth is not that big, said. So it's a whole thing. Huh? By the way, this is after the Hagigah barbecue. Imagine ala soba.
Hagigah was first?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
It was first. Ala soba.
And we do it after.
Hagigah, no, we don't do it. Maran Shulchan Aruch says the Hagigah is first. And the Iraqis do the Hagigah first. Syrians do it after. When do you do it? The egg. When do you eat it?
After. The last after.
Also, but Maran and Rambam says do it first. What was I saying? Oh, ala soba. Imagine you just had a huge barbecue. Now have this big sub from Jeff's. It's crazy, right? All right. So now we're going to get into it. We'll end up where we are. So right now we have mahloket. We have mahloket hachamim, and we have mahloket Hillel HaZaken.
Does it say it wraps the
Korchan.
What's wrap when it says
He doesn't say what. Matzah, the matzah amarot for sure.
Matzah maror.
For sure.
Okay. And
We don't
matzah
know.
was wrapped,
Maror inside it and haroset.
but we're supposed to. What I learned, which we don't do actually, the lettuce you wrap around the matzah, the outside instead of inside.
I don't know.
Like
I don't know. You beat me there. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. We're going to read the Rambam, Shulchan Aruch. We're going to bring it to present day in 1 second. And so to save some time, let's skip a couple of lines and say as follows. We're going to do this.
We're back in the gemara, right?
Yeah, in the Gemara, I'm skipping to the second wide line. The end of the first wide line. Hashta. Hashta, de lo itimal hilchata, lo kehalil v'lo kerabanan. You didn't tell me the halacha. Who's the halacha like? Hillel Zaken, you should do korech, or Rabbanan, you shouldn't do korech. You didn't tell me, so therefore what? We're going to do both. Mebarech al achila matzah. First we'll do matzah, the achil and eat it. The hadan mebarech al achilat maror, and then we're going to do achilat maror and eat it. The achil, the hadan achil matzah v'hasa, v'hadeh hadadeh, and then we do matzah and let us at once. Below beracha zecher lemekdash kehilel. So we're going to do that. That's exactly what we do. We do matzah first, we do maror second.
No. Maror we have before.
Motzi matzah, maror korech.
לא, אנחנו עושים מצה, עושים המוציא.
כן.
ואחרי שמים מצה ומרור ביחד.
לא, מוציא matzah.
אבל אתה מברך, אומרים פני האדמה בהתחלה.
Yeah, but we do kadesh urhas karpas yahas. Magid עושה מוציא matzah.
קדש, אורחץ, כפס.
האדמה, כן.
ואחרי זה אתה עושה המוציא על המצה.
כן.
ואחרי זה אתה לא רוצה להגיד אדמה על ה...
No, you don't have to.
אז בגלל זה אתה עושה את זה קרוב ביחד.
No, ביחד. No, we don't do. That's not what we do. No, you don't. Ask your boys. Boys. You don't. Motzi matzah, maror. Maror is alone. Yeah.
But we say al
achilat maror.
How can we say beracha? We already made hamotzi. You're saying in beracha.
Okay, two answers. First of all, the beracha. Okay, so my father was asking, how can we say beracha on the maror after hamotzi? We good? Yeah. Ken?
We say Hashem name.
Right. That's the first answer.
What? We don't what?
We don't say halakha, right?
Maror, the matzah. So he doesn't say hamotzi lechem idvar.
Who? Hillel.
He doesn't say hamotzi. He says maror, the matzah.
Yeah, but that takes
That means that he already made a motzi.
No, you can't say that for Hillel Zaken. Hillel says the mitzvah is all together. You can't do it. I'll tell you why. Because if you do that logic, if he already had matzah, you hear what he's asking me? So we have a couple of questions here. Let's do this one first, go back to yours. He's saying maybe Hillel Hazaken also holds do hamotzi first. The answer is what? Don't forget. If he did hamotzi first, he already fulfilled the deoraita of motzi matzah. And now maror is deoraita, and the second matzah is the rabbanan. You can't mix it with the rabbanan, and Tosafot says this. By the way, Tosafot says this. You're always on the ball. Tosafot says it all applies both ways. So when you have the maror, you can't have midrabanan matzah with it. It has to all be at the same time. Lo is Mshechyan. Okay, my father-in-law's question was, how could you make a beracha on the maror after hamotzi? So the first answer is Adam's answer. What's the beracha we're answering? That we're saying? No. Al chila matzah, maror. It's not a blessing to eat the food. It's a blessing on the mitzvah. It's a blessing on the mitzvah. It has nothing to do with hamotzi.
Achila.
It's on the mitzvah. You commanded us to eat maror. The second answer is ha'adama. Ha'adama we already got from the kapas.
That I understand.
Because of Hillel Hazaken, because he heard the pasuk masot umrorim yocheluhu, and so he said the pasuk says they all have to be together. But the Hafim say no. Look at the other pasuk. The achilot basaz. No, well, probably a different pasuk if it makes more sense. The achilot basaz. The Hafim said no. We have different pasuk. So which one do we hold like? We have to do both. Huh? We're not sure if we hold like Hillel. I'm gonna wait till I read Rambam. It could be like Hillel. According to Hillel Zaken. According to Hillel Zaken, we already fulfilled the mitzvah, the oraita. Right? And so it was getting complicated, but if Hillel Zaken held the pesach meat should be in the sandwich, impossible the way we do it. Because the pesach meat's the oraita. And since we already did matzah maror, it's only rabbinic. You can't mix the oraita and rabbinic. Understand?
We also have in the our non-food Sefer Torah some people don't put a Sefer Torah next to a
Sefer Nevi'im.
So, yeah.
That's on my list of one of my Havedah Sunday classes. That's on my list of topics. So I want to give
That's
you.
the same thing. Mixing Doraita and Shorili.
This is even worse.
What did you say?
Sefer Torah is not Deoraita, huh?
What did you say about, what did you say about some together when you were?
I don't want to give it away because I want to do this for a class one Sunday. It's on my list. But there's a question: can you keep the Sefer Haftarot together with the Sefer Torah
Same.
in the Hechal? Which is less of a question because even Sefer Torah is not Mideoraita. This is Mideoraita. You have to eat matzah. Okay? There's a big support here that I wanted to do. Let's see. Let's do one of the Tosafots. We'll start, and then we have to read Rambam before we finish. The support here says Ela Mevarech. I highlighted it. Ela Mevarech Amatzah ve'achil u'mevarech amaror. You do separate. We do what? Well, like we do. Okay? So the voice says, Im haya korech shenehem yahad. If you did korech first, tehila hava ati maror d'Rabbanan. Why don't? So the question is, I'm going to say it in English. It's a trivia question that you can ask people at your seder. Okay, Hillel Zaken korech. So why don't we do it first? Why don't we do korech first? The answer is Tosafot's answer. Because if you already did it, it's the Rabbanan. You can't mix the Rabbanan. Im haya korech shenehem yahad tehila. Then the maror, which is the Rabbanan, is with your matzah, which is the Oraita. Doctor, you got this Tosafot? We have to wait until our matzah is midrabanan. We can't do our biblical matzah with the korech sandwich. We can't mix matzah with maror. So that's why korech cannot be first. It can't be first in our seder. Because why? The maror is midrabanan. And the matzah is the oraita. That's Tosafot. Next Tosafot. No, let's not do the next Tosafot. Okay. I want to bring this home for you. Let's see if we can do it.
You have time, it's fine. 5 minutes more, it's okay.
Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page until the next page. By the way, this next part we actually did already. It's about dipping it in the water, and then the top part when you turn the page is about kappa. You see kappa on the top. We already talked about kappa, and so we'll skip down all the way to the bottom. Maybe we'll get back to it. Amad Shemuel, 3 lines from the bottom of Kuf Tet Vav Amud Bet. Amad Shemuel, Lechem Oni. What is Lechem Oni? Bread of affliction. It says in the Chumash, bread of affliction, right? Lechem Shonin Alav Devarim. Oni doesn't mean poor. Oni means la'anot. We answer, we say stuff. When we say Lechem Zeh, Matzazu Shanu Ochlim. So the real reason why it's called Lechem Oni is because we're onim. We talk about it. It's talkative bread. We learn this way. Lechem Oni, Lechem Shonin. It's a bread. The same thing that we talk about. Dabar Ahed, the second pshat, Lechem Oni, is Ani Ketiv. It's missing the Vav. When it says Lechem Oni in the Torah, it's missing the Vav. So it's written Ani. Ani is a poor person. So it's poor man's bread. That's the second pshat. It's not the first pshat. The first pshat is Oni in La'anot. The second pshat is Lechem Oni from Aniyut, from poverty. Ma'ani, check out the Gemara. Ma'ani shidarcho bepirusa. Just like a poor person doesn't have whole breads. He only has pieces of breads. So, Afkan. So too here, bepirusa. We have to make sure we eat on Pesach matzah that's broken. This is why we do yahatz. This is why we do yahatz. All the Kabbalistic reasons are beautiful.
That's broken.
Has to be broken.
But that doesn't sound right.
Because we have to be like poor. If it's a full loaf, a full matzah, it's a rich man. It has to be poor. Why do we break the matzah? This is the reason we break the matzah. Okay? Dabar ahed, another reason. Madar koshil ani, just like a poor person. Hu masik, he lights the fire in his house, the oven. Ve'ishto ofa, and his wife cooks. They can't hire anybody or buy it in the store. They cook at home. Afkan, so too here with matzah anami. Hu masik, you should light the fire. Ve'ishto ofa, and your wife should cook the matzah. The mitzvah min hamuvhad, the most preferable mitzvah, according to this gemara on the surface, is that a husband and a wife should make matzah together. Just like a poor person.
Why does it have to be like that?
Because lechem oni, it's a bread of affliction. It's written without a vav. Lechem oni, ani. It's written like a poor person. So we try to make it like we're poor. Pesach is a weird dichotomy. We're poor and we're rich. We keep flipping, right? We remember the poverty we used to have, and remember now we're benachoni, we're rich.
You become poor in Pesach.
You do become poor. Yeah, it makes you poor. That's right. Okay.
Wine like a king when you eat your bread.
Yeah, the Pesach is very confusing. Pesach, yeah, but we have this concept of remembering the poverty and the bitterness. And lechem oni. It's a very weird, we are used to it because we do it every year. If you're a new person at the Seder, it's like, what's the theme of the night? Bitter, sweet, bitter, rich. Like, what are you doing? That's what we do. Okay. So I want to just read Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch actually says this in Halakha 460. Shulchan Aruch says, and we have to talk about the other one before we finish. Shulchan Aruch says about matzah. Harosh, the Rosh, Haya mishtadel, he tried very hard b'matzah mitzvah, ve'omed al asiyata, to stand and do it himself. Umzarez ha'oskim b'hem, umesayeh ba'arichatan, he would try to help with the matzah making. V'chen ra'ui lechol adam la'asot, it's fitting for every person to make their own matzah. Leitapel hu be'atzmo b'mitzvah. So special halakha by matzah, we don't do it. Who could do matzah these days? Only in the matzah factories. But it actually is, and the wife would be, if you do it with your wife, you mamash be filling with the gemara says. Okay, that's that point. I want to try to move on real quick. Let's see if we can knock this out really quick. We're going to do Gemara Berachot, Express, and then we'll wrap it up with Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, and everyone go home. Ready? Gemara Berachot. I'm not going to be able to read everything inside. Let's see what we can. That's the single page. Gemara Berachot says, Itemar, we learned. I highlighted it for you. If the servants, when you're eating a regular meal, any meal, they bring you pieces of bread and they bring you whole breads, not Shabbat, any day. Whole breads and pieces of breads. Amar Rav Huna says, Mevarech ala petitin upoter et hashlamim. Bless on the broken breads, and then it's good enough. It covers the whole breads. The opposite of what we do. Bless on the pieces. Rabbi Yochanan says, Shilema mitzvah min avuhad. It's always good to bless hamotzi on the full loaf during the week. Always, if you have a choice. Okay. Now Rashi, I highlighted Rashi for you. Petitin u'shleimin amar Huna. Im ratzah mevarech ala petitin. It's optional. He says, if you want to bless on the pieces, bless on the pieces. V'im petitin gedolim min hashleimin. But if the pieces are bigger than the full roll, it's a mini roll. Sarich lebarech alehem. You have to. He holds bless on the pieces. Okay. Now, about Gemara says, Perusa shel hitin. A piece of bread, a broken piece of bread that's wheat bread. Ushtilema min hasi'orin. And if you have a full roll, which is barley bread, divrei hakol. Everyone agrees. Mevarech al haperusa. You bless on the broken wheat. Broken wheat bread has priority over full barley loaves. It's more hashuv.
Barley is cheap. That's what.
Yeah, but even though it's a piece, it has priority over the full barley loaves. Okay? Skip the red brackets. Amar Rahman bar Yitzhak. V'yireh shamayim yotzei yidei shenehem. If yireh shamayim, if you're heaven, try to do it all. How do you do it all? Umanu mad bered rabina dema bered rabina maniach pidusa betoch hashilema ubotzea. He would take the piece, he would put it inside it, and do it on both of them. Little piece with the whole bread. Tani tanaka made Rab Rahman bar Yitzhak maniach pidusa betoch hashilema ubotzea. Berech amalem. Okay, so the story is this rabbi, he actually did it. He was at a meal, they brought a piece and a whole. He took the piece and the whole together and have both. Amale, they said to this, Mashimich, what's your name? Amale Shaleman. Shaleman. Shaleman is my name. Amale Shalom Ata, you are peaceful. Ushalema Mishnatecha, and your Mishnah, your learning is complete. Shesamta Shalom ben Talmidin, you make peace, you make everyone happy. The broken piece and the whole piece. Okay? This is the point. Ready? Amar Papa says, this is Gemara Berachot, remember. Hakol Modim, everyone agrees, but Pesach, Shemaniach Perusa betoch Shelema ubotzeya. That you put the little piece with the big piece and you break. My ta'ama, why do we do the little piece on Pesach? Lehem oni ketiv, because it says a poor man's bread, and a poor man eats only a broken piece. Let's read two more lines real quick. Amar Rabbi Abba u'b'Shabbat hayav adam leb'sua al sheteki karot. On Shabbat you need to have lehem mishneh, 2 loaves of bread. My ta'ama, lehem mishneh ketiv. It says lehem mishneh. Okay. Now, if you look at Rashi, I highlighted it for you. Maniach perusa tahat hashelema on the left side. Both of them are in your hands. And you can break off or mishtehen or min hashelema, but not the perusa, as she says.
Oh, okay.
As she says, the piece you shouldn't break alone. Either break both of them or the whole one. Lehem oni ketiv, as she says, v'darko shel ani, the way of a poor person, bepirusa, is to eat a pieces of bread. Everyone has to think you're blessing from the broken piece. So it's almost like a trick, as she's saying. It's like a trick. You put the broken piece with the big piece, and when you do it, people are like, oh, he's breaking the little piece, but really you're breaking the big piece. That's what she's saying. Okay? Now, let's do really quick Tosafot. I highlighted for you on the right side. Peresh Rabbeinu Tam. You know what? Let's read the beginning of the Tosafot. Pirush Rashi says, Ima petitin v'ashilimin shavin, if the sizes are equal, yibarech al ezer sheyitzeh. You go bless on whatever one you want. Okay, now let's skip. Piresh Rabbeinu Tam, Demairi v'petitin gedolim u'shilimim kitanim. We're talking about big pieces and small rolls. Okay. Let's go down because I want to save time. Bottom Tosafot. Hakol modim. Hakol modim bePesach. Everyone agrees on Pesach. You have to break off from the broken piece. Mishum dichtib lehem oni, because it says a poor man's bread. Maniach hapirosa tahat hashelema. You put the broken piece under the whole piece. It looks like you're breaking the broken piece. However, you should only break from the whole piece, not from the small piece.
When we talk about breaking,
The piece that you're eating from. The piece that you're breaking off and eating from. First.
first of all,
It's only the bite, but
so when we make matzah, we drop the bottom one,
We're getting there.
the half one, and the top one.
Yeah.
So we eat the both.
So this is how we're building there. I'm showing you the background. Okay? Ve'ala pirusa yebarech al achilat masa. Says Tosafot. The miracha hamotzi you're making on the whole one. The miracha al achilat masa is going on the broken piece. Why? Hamotzi goes on the full piece always. But al achilat matzah is a specific blessing for the matzah, and the matzah is lehem oni. And so that beracha should actually be on the small piece, says Tosafot.
but we eat from the top of the whole piece.
That's what we do now. But I'm showing you that, like everything, what we do now is not as so clear that what they did always. Ve'korchim ve'ochlim mishtehen yahad, and then you eat from both of them as one. So everyone thinks and looks like you're breaking from the middle piece. This is the minhag to do. You can't make hamotzi and the second beracha on the broken bread. Okay, fine. Now, I'm going to speed it up because we're out of time. Let's put berachot away. Tosafot, I'm going to say outside here. Rashi, if you look back at our Rashi, last thing I'm going to make you look inside, okay? Go back to Pesachim, the top Rashi. Doctor, you ready? Top Rashi. Avkan the Pirusa, Kuftet Zayin. So too, you have to have a Pirusa, you have to have a piece on Pesach. Lebarech al achilat matzah. The second blessing, al achilat matzah, is on the broken piece, not on the whole piece, says Rashi. Ushte shelemot mighty. Why do you bring the other two? Why is it 3 matzahs? Kohen Levi Israel, very cute, nice, Kabbalah. What's the reason? The real halachic reason is because you have to have 2 whole pieces on a holiday, and you have to also have a broken piece. That's why you need 3. So Rashi says the piece that's broken is the barech al chilat matzah. Ushte shelemot mighty. Why do you bring the 2 whole ones? Mishum birkat hamotzi, because you have to make hamotzi. You have to make on Yom Tov 2 whole breads. And so Rashi says that berachot are separate. Have you ever seen anyone do this? On the whole matzah, they say hamotzi, and then they take the piece and they say al chilat matzah. Have you seen anyone do this?
No.
Rashi says to do this. Tosafot says to do this. And the truth is, it's a big mahloket. Tosafot over here, maybe we'll do it next time. He talks about why do you have to have lechem on Yom Tov? Who said Yom Tov? So maybe next time we'll do that. Let's wrap up. Maybe. Let's wrap up the bottom on halakha. Let me do for you. First of all, I'll read halakha now. We'll finish up. First, I'll read Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says 168. Halakha l'ma'aseh. Haya ochel. Oh, that's 178. This is not the laws of Pesach. This is the law of eating meals. Haya lefanav hatichot shel pat. If you have slices of bread, upat shalem, and full bread also. Hakol mimin echad, and it's all from one type of grain. Mevarech ala shalem, you have to bless on the whole piece. Afilu pat kibad, even if it's not clean, it's not as good quality. Bekatan, behatichot pat kegula. Okay. Abal ima shalem esirurim. If the full loaf is from barley, vehatichot behitim, and the slices are from wheat. Even if the wheat piece is very small, you should put them both together, says Maran Shulchan Aruch. And do what? What is this? Like Rashi, and also like he says, Yerei Shamayim should do both, the Gemara says. Yes. Over Solomon, Maran Shulchan Aruch holds like this. That's number one. Next. The Rambam. Now, you know by now, there's the third week of the Pesach. You know by now, Rambam Seder was nothing like your Seder. And so let's read Rambam. Rambam says, Mevarech al netilat yadayim, v'notel yadav shenit. You wash your hands again. Shaarey Yerushalayim tato b'shal kirat odam. Okay. V'lokeach shenei rekikim. Take 2 crackers, which is matzah. V'cholek echad mehen. Split one of them. He says 2 crackers, right? Split one of them, umaniach pirus l'toch shalem, and put the broken one with the whole one. 2 matzahs. 2. Umevarech hamotzi lechem min haaretz. You make hamotzi. Umempnei ma eno varech ashte kekarot. Why don't you use 2 whole breads? You should have 3 matzahs. Why do you only have 2? 1 broken and 1 full. Kish'ad yamim tovim mishum shneimar lechem oni. It says lechem oni, so one of them has to be broken. So the Rambam doesn't say 3 matzahs. Rambam says 2 matzahs. And after that, korech matzah umaror ke'ahat. Wrap them all together in a sandwich, matzah and maror. Umetabel b'haroset, and dip it in the haroset. He doesn't say spread it. He says dip it in the haroset. Umevarech, and make the blessing. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvah v'sivanu, al achilat matzot umrorim ve'ochlan. You make them all one shot and eat them. If you only have matzah and you eat it alone, then then you make a beracha on this and a beracha on this. Okay? These days, there's no korban anymore. Then hozer umevarech al achilat matzah. You make lechem, hamotzi lechem, and achilat matzah. Umetabel matzah, and then you dip the matzah in what? In what? Al-achilat matzah. Salt? Salt? No, not salt. Why haroset? Matzah and haroset?
Matzah has that salt.
He's saying matzah.
Matzah wasn't.
You guys shocked me here for a second.
When they bake the matzah, there's no salt.
Right.
So that's why we dip it in salt.
Okay, so that's why he says umetabel matzah b'haroset. You believe this? He says it did the matzah and haroset. Doesn't say so. They all can eat it. Doesn't say that. Now, why does Rambam say dip the matzah and haroset? I have my own reason. I think the whole thing is that we're trying to remember the Beit HaMikdash. He just told you in the Beit HaMikdash the matzah maror was dipped into the haroset. And so maybe he holds the same thing for our Seder. Rambam, dip the matzah haroset. V'chozenu barech alcha maror. And then have the maror, u'mitaber maror b'haroset. And do that. Matzah and haroset, maror and haroset. Rambam. Okay? Rambam is a whole different thing. Okay. So now, obviously, he holds like Hillel Zaken. In the times of the Beit HaMikdash, he holds like Hillel Zaken. So do we hold like Hillel? Rambam holds like Hillel Zaken. He just told you, if the Beit HaMikdash was here, we would do Korech right away. These days, we do both, and we have to do the Korech second because, that's right, because the Maror is the Rabbanan. That's a Rambam. Shulchan Aruch.
So we don't really hold like that.
The Rambam says halakha like Hillel, and the Ravid, here, the Ravid, Rambam, most of the times Rambam.
Well, what are you saying? We don't do.
This whole Seder, yeah. Because the Ravid here, Ashkenaz says, Zeu kehalel. This is like Hillel. What kind of Seder is this? The Ravid says, the Ashkenaz. The Maran, the Magi Mishnah, the Maran Bet Yosef, he says, he holds like Hillel Zaken. Shulchan Aruch 475. Imagine going to Rambam's Seder. Shulchan Aruch 475 says as follows. Okay. Yitol yadav, wash your hands. V'barech al netel yadayim mikveracha. V'yikach hamasot chased shehanicham. Hapirusa ben sheter shilimot. Maran holds 3 pieces of bread, like Rashi. 3 pieces of bread, 3 matzahs. V'yohazem biyado, hold them. V'yibarech hamotzi ve'al chilat matzah, on all of them. And then break from the full one, the top one. U'me'apirusa, and from the broken one. Mishtehen biyahad v'yitebelem, and dip them in milah, salt. That's Maran Shulchan Aruch. Okay? Next. 2 more things. Mishnah Berurah 473-57. Maran says 3, because Rashi says 3. Rambam.
But it doesn't say, it's not saying 2 holes in 1 hand.
That's what Rashi says. And Maran also says this. Yeah. Yeah, you have to eat the broken piece. Okay, listen to Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says, the middle one you break into 2. You have to break it so it's poor man's bread. And a poor person eats a piece of bread. Why do we break the middle piece? Why not break any other piece? Achilat matzah is going on the middle piece. Hamotzi goes on the top piece. And korech is for the bottom piece. Each piece has a direction and a special thing. So the bottom piece is really the piece you want to use your korech for the Baal Habayit. Okay? Now, the Kafa Haim, why do we do Yahatz? I was thinking, should we do it or not? We'll do it very quick. Yahatz, we break it. The Mikumalim tells Kafa Haim brings down, you want to make it into a Dalid and a Vav. Right? Why a Dalid and a Vav?
Why a Dalid?
Because you want to spell the letter He. It's all each, right? That's why. Each matzah is the letter of Hashem. And so the He, and then he has a whole thing, Kaf Haim brings down from real quick, that the Dalid is going to stay with us, and the Vav is going to be hidden away, right?
Correct.
The Dalid, he says, represents, the Kabbalah terms, Nukpa and Dukhra. The Nukpa and Dukhra is Zachar and Nekeva in Aramaic, in Aramit. So he says the Dalid represents the Nukba, the female version, which is us. Nukba.
Oh, we have the female version?
Yeah, we Israel. Okay. And so what we do is we put the Vav, which is the Dukhra, the Zachat, we put it away for later. That symbolizes Olam Haba. Later. Safun, by Olam Haba you get. Yeah, later. But the Dukhra, the Dalid is also the Dalid, it's not Dukhra, Nukba. The Nukba is going to go and connect with the other matzot, and it's going to make Yehud. Yehudin, which is what the Kabbalah is all about. We make Yehudim with all the different. That's why we do Yahas like this, and we put it all together. And so Yahas is not in the Gemara. That it tells you with the Dalit and the Vav and all this. There is a Ran on this, maybe another time. Okay, that's it for today. So bottom line, the takeaway, if you don't remember anything else, the easiest thing you say, tell the family, why don't we do korech first? You know the answer to this, right? Why do we have 3 matzot? Why not 2? Rashi. Yeah? Why do we take the broken piece and we put it with the whole piece? What are we doing this for? Because we want it to look like we're taking from the broken piece, but we really need to do it on the whole piece, right? All the things that we said. We did it very quick because there's not a lot of time. We only have 1 more week for Pesach, and that's it. Next week's at the Shem. All right, we have Minyan? Yeah? Kaddish.